today I'm excited to share one of the interesting topic which I just read. Uh, so this may not sound so direct to AI or software engineering, right? But it is an important recipe to have, right? As a engineer, right? Or even if you wish to become a politician, right? So whoever you want to become, at one point in time, it's always good to have a knowledge about events, patterns, and structures. So what it is, let's see. So what are events? Events are nothing but some occurrence, right? Some quick occurrence in a system, right? So let's say a sudden drop in sales or whatever you hear in news, right? So whatever news reader says, those are events, right? They say today there was stormy weather, or today the rainfall recorded was too high. Okay, that is a event, right? Or stock, some one of the uh, you know very important stock crashed, or an environmental disaster, right? So these are events, right? And these are nothing but a tip of the iceberg. So we don't know what is driving this behavior, but we just had a news, right? We just listen to news on these things. Okay, but this is just an event. Now, what leads the once an event happens, then what we do, right? We will react to the maybe we will uh, browse our mobile, look into something related to that, or what happened in that event in depth, like how many people survived or how many people got injured, all this, right? So we react to these events, and this is good to have, right? So reacting to a problem is good to have skill, but can we do better, right? Can we do better? That should be the question we should always ask, right? Now comes the next question, right? Patterns. What trend do we see here? I know an event has occurred, right? And is this event a recurring thing? Right now, I think this is where experts come in, right? Once you see an event occurring and once you recognize a pattern out of an event, right? You will see some expert suggestions on YouTube or news, right? They will try to forecast something, or they try to, based on their historical knowledge, they will come up with some idea about this event, right? So because they know the pattern, or they think they know the pattern, right? So, for example, employee satisfaction, you see in an IT company, employees are churning on a regular basis, right? Maybe every once in a quarter, you can look into the reports and plot a graph. Right? So, graphs are fundamentally a tool which can help recognize a pattern. Okay, so what how patterns are different from events, right? I would say event can be an anomaly, right? So some tornado or a snowfall happening in Chennai would be reported in the news, but do you think um, it will happen frequently? No, right? It could be an anomaly. I'm just predicting based on my historical knowledge. We never know what happens when it comes to nature, but still, it could be an anomaly, right? So patterns are like historical knowledge built, and using that, you try to come up with your own hypothesis, relying on that uh, pattern derived from that historical knowledge. Now, this is good. This is way better than events, right? So this helps pattern helps us to bring proactive thinking. So, for example, let's say um some heavy rainfall is reported. Okay, now the government can proactively report. I mean, the weather forecast says tomorrow is going to be heavy rainfall in whatever region you are there. Okay, now the government will try to bring additional resource. Let's say firefighters, or if let's say you have a substantial amount, if you don't have a substantial amount of people who can perform that disaster recovery, then government can proactively bring those people, right? So this is the advantage of recognizing a pattern. Now let's see structures. These are the fundamentals, right? So once you get experienced in any domain you are, could be a politician or anything, right? So it's always important to you will, by your experience, you will figure out the structure of that system, right? So this is very important. This is way better than pattern. Okay. Now, so for example, how what is a structure? Let's say most of the policies, right? All the policies made by government or any big corporate. So these are the things which creates the structures on which we all operate. Okay, and that's why it's very important to follow the policies made by the government, right? It will have an influence, right? The leader whom we are going to elect, that is again a structural change, right? So it can derive many patterns or events out of it. So people, again, I'm repeating this, it doesn't matter whatever field you are in, if you know the structure of the field and how things are, you know, growing up, like you should have some knowledge about what's happening around in the economy, finance, and what domain you are in, and who's driving the domain, and who's driving the policies in the domain. So these forms a structure. I can't say this is the thing, but we have to figure it out. And once you figure it out, uh, the structure, then you will know how the patterns are created, right? And from the patterns, you will figure out how the events happened. And this is all about system thinking. Um, and we can relate to a famous example here, right? I think many AI companies would have faced this problem, right? So I'm just trying to relate the deployment delays in a AI company or a software company with respect to events, patterns, and structure. Now let's say event could be nothing but let's the company is going to let's say one of the team in the AI company is going to deploy a product, right? And there happens to be a delay in that product. They would have committed some days, and but it got delayed by let's say 5 or 6 days, right? This is an event. Okay, that's fine. It is normal in most of the companies, right? It can happen even in awesome state of the art companies as well. Okay, now, what would be the immediate reaction to this? Now, people will analyze, the project managers or your A managers, product managers, whoever. So they'll try to analyze what can be improved here, right? So they are going to do a reactive uh, response based on the delay in the delivery. Now they will add more resources. Maybe they'll think about like, is there any technical issues in the team like that, right? Now, a pattern. Now, let's say deployment delay is just an event. Now, what would be a pattern? Now, you see this team is recurringly delaying the deployment of multiple projects, right? Now, this is an issue. Just once or twice is fine, okay? But if it happens in a recurring fashion, then something is wrong. Now, we need to dig deep on what can happen, what has, or why is this happening, right? Now, one of the issue could be unclear expectation. Maybe the management would have committed something, but what has been communicated to the team is different, and maybe what the team has interpreted could be completely different. So these are the patterns which lead or which led to the delay in the delivery, right? Now, what could be a structural problem here, right? Now, let's say data scientist. So we will have multiple teams, right? Data scientist and AI ops teams. Now, you see, data scientists are working differently, and the AI ops teams are working in a different silos. Now, AI ops is not aware of what data scientist team do, and data scientist doesn't understand the pain of the AI ops team in deploying the models. Okay, so data scientists can commit some time for which the ML ops or AI ops team won't be in sync with it, right? So maybe if both of them work together and come up with a, you know, a deadline, that would be a better decision, right? Or standardization. Maybe there is not much of tools being used to automate the process. See, most of the issues happens when data scientists do the work in the development environment, but the operation teams deploy it on prod, right? What if you could create tools which smoothens this? So whatever you do in prod gets whatever you do in dev gets replicated in prod, and that is where standardization comes. And then unclear ownership. So there is no one there to derive the end-to-end deployment since we have siloed teams. So based on this, you can form a team. Your project managers or your managers, whoever is going to be responsible for this product, uh, they will come up with all these suggestions. How can I solve this? Okay, this maybe the first proposal could be cross-functional teams, right? Or introduce some automation tools which will ease the transition from development to production, or introduce additional tools to quickly, reduce errors, make the solution more robust. And implementing CI/CD is one of the best practices. Almost all state of the companies would have implemented that, and this ensures any errors faced in the development environment is quickly given as a feedback to the developer, and developer can quickly resolve that error. So these changes can result in all these improvements, right? You see, the team is now working collaboratively. Now they are able to reduce the model development time and deployment time to 40 percentage, right? So all this nice news will come out once we have made the structural change. uh, so yeah, so if you like this video, put a thumbs up and share it with your friends or well wishers. If you have any constructive feedback, leave it in the comment. Looking forward most of the uh, videos. Thank you.